the weakest species in the galaxy. The Varnak Empire had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Their technology was powerful, their bodies were strong. Their skin was like metal, and their bones were almost unbreakable. They had fought many species and destroyed many planets without losing a single war. But today something strange appeared on their scanners. A small blue planet at the edge of a quiet system. Earth Commander Telek stood on the bridge of his warship staring at the screen. He was tall, his armor shining dark red like dried blood. His face showed no emotion. The screen showed images of humans walking, shopping, laughing and fighting on the streets of Earth. He watched carefully, then gave a cold laugh. "So these are humans," he said, weak, soft, emotional, not built for war. The other Varnak soldiers laughed too. They zoomed in on a man running after a bus falling, scraping his knee and crying. The crew laughed louder. Some called humans jelly bones. Others called them walking wounds. Compared to the Varnak, who had 3 hearts and armor like skin, humans looked like toys. "Send a small team," Telek ordered to bring a few back. "I want to see these soft things with my own eyes." Within hours, a stealth pod entered Earth's sky and landed in a forest. 5 humans were taken, 3 men and 2 women. No weapons, no fight. They screamed and begged but were quickly knocked out and brought to the Varnak ship. Inside a clean white lab, the humans were placed in glass cages. Monitors showed their heart rate, temperature, and brain activity. One man named Ethan tried to speak, but the translator failed. He looked around scared and confused. Blood still dripped from a bullet wound on his chest. Varnak had shot him during capture. They expected him to die in minutes. Commander Telek walked into the lab. He stood in front of Ethan's cage and smiled coldly. His voice was calm. "Look at you," he said, fragile like a leaf in the wind. Ethan coughed and held his chest. He closed his eyes as his body shivered. Blood ran down his side. The machines beeped slower. Varnak turned away. Telek nodded to his scientist. "They'll be dead soon," the commander said. "Dispose of him when he stops breathing." But something strange happened hours later. The machine that tracked Ethan's pulse beeped again. Then again, stronger. The scientist turned. Ethan's chest was rising and falling. Slowly his eyes opened. His skin where the bullet entered began to close. The wound sealed like melted plastic. No drugs were given. No machines touched him. His body was healing on its own. Dr. Zari, the lead alien biologist, dropped her tablet. "That is not possible," she whispered. His heart had stopped. His blood was low. "But he is healing," Telek returned and watched the screen. Ethan now sat up in the cage, breathing heavily. He looked weak but alive. His body was still shaking, but the wound was almost gone. The commander's face became serious. "Check the others," he ordered. The other humans were also healing. One woman had a broken arm. Now the bone was straight. A man had deep cuts on his leg. Now they are gone. Their heart rates were normal. No signs of poison. No medical help was given. Just silence. And regeneration. Dr. Zari ran scans. She shouted, "The human cells are multiplying fast. They are replacing dead tissue. They are not like ours. They are repairing themselves faster than any species I have seen." Lek watched the screen again. This time he did not laugh. "We thought they were weak," he said, "but they are built to survive pain. Maybe pain is their fuel." One soldier stepped back from the cages. He had fought many wars and seen many strange aliens. "But nothing like this, sir," he said. "If they can recover from bullet wounds, what else can they survive?" Lek turned his eyes to the stars beyond the window. Something had changed. These soft creatures were not dying. They were adapting. They were learning. He felt something he had never felt in years, curiosity and fear to keep them alive. He said, "I want to see how far they can go. If they can survive this, then maybe they are more dangerous than we ever thought." In his cage, Ethan looked straight at the camera. His eyes clear, his breathing steady. He placed his hand on the glass and gave a small smile, the same smile he gave before everything went dark, and For the first time in his life, Commander Telek did not smile back, because deep inside he knew, the weakest species in the galaxy may not be so weak after all. Part 1, complete. The ship floated in deep space, cold, silent, and dark. But inside the lab, everything was changing. The lights blinked faster, machines beeped louder, the air felt tight like something was about to break. Dr. Zari stood frozen, her eyes locked on the human cages. She had never seen anything like this before. One of the humans, a young woman with brown hair, had deep bruises across her face. Now those marks were fading, vanishing, like they were never there. Her skin glowed softly under the scanner, her pulse calm, her body warm, steady, alive. Commander Telek entered the lab, his face hard, but his eyes curious. He did not speak at first, just watched in silence. The humans were no longer weak, no longer shaking. They sat up one by one, their breathing strong, their wounds gone, their eyes clear. Something had awakened inside them. Scan them again, he ordered. Keep scanning until we understand what this is. Dr. Zari ran another scan. Her hands moved fast across the glowing console. The results flashed red, then green, then red again. Confusion. Her mouth moved, but no words came. Finally she spoke slowly, carefully. Their cells are acting like liquid fire. They copy and replace damage faster than any system. We know it is not just healing, it is something more. Telek narrowed his eyes. Explain. They are adapting, sir, she said. They are learning every second. Their bodies remember the injury and protect against it like nature designed them for pain. Suddenly, alarms rang across the lab, flashing red light, sirens, a warning echoing through the halls. One of the human males had stood up in the cage, his hand pressed against the glass. Slowly it cracked. Just a hairline split. But it kept growing. The metal door of the cage began to bend, not from tools, not from machines, but from his bare hand. Stalek stepped back. Guards to the lab. Now new Varnak soldiers entered, weapons ready, their armor shining, but their hands shook. Something felt wrong. The human was not angry, not wild. He looked calm, focused, determined, like he was supposed to do this, like he had done it before. The other cages followed the same pattern. One by one the humans stood up, their posture strong, their faces still and quiet. One looked straight into the camera, her eyes glowing silver. For a moment, just a flash, like energy was inside her veins. Dr. Zari gasped. It is not just the body, she whispered. Their nervous system is syncing with the environment. They are sensing pressure, heat, even fear, like animals built for war. Lack's voice dropped low. Open a direct channel to the war room, sir, asked the guard. What do we tell them? Lack answered slowly. Tell them we did not capture humans. We opened the door and invited something else inside. Outside the lab, the ship AI began speaking in a calm voice. Warning, unknown adaptive behavior detected. Human biology exceeds safety parameters. Recommend lockdown override. The lights turned dark. The floors shifted into red emergency mode. The ship had seen something it did not understand, and machines only fear what they cannot explaining. The hall, two engineers watching from a hidden camera whispered among themselves. They look soft, but they are not, one said. The other nodded. I think they are made for pain, made for survival. Back in the lab, Ethan, the first to regenerate, now stood fully upright. His shirt torn, his chest scarred, but healed. He turned to the others and nodded without speaking, like they all understood each other without words, like something old, something human had returned inside them. The will to fight, the will to adapt, the will to survive. Plaque stared at the screen, his face pale. He had seen many monsters across galaxies, beasts, machines, viruses, but nothing scared him more than this one thing: hope. Inside the enemy, hope that would not die, hope that regenerates. You call this fragile? The silence in the warship turned heavy, like space itself had begun to breathe slower. Every hallway echoed with fear. Every screen showed one truth: the humans were no longer afraid. They were no longer weak. They were no longer what the Varnak thought they were. Inside the control room, Commander Telek watched the security feed as one of the soldiers aimed a plasma rifle directly at the human named Ethan. The shot fired hot and blue. It hit Ethan in the chest. The force pushed him against the cage wall. Smoke rose from his body. He dropped to the floor unmoving. Everyone stared, waiting, counting. The seconds: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then Ethan moved his fingers first, then his arms. Then slowly he stood. The wound was there, burned skin cracked open. But right in front of their eyes it closed. The skin healed over, like time was moving backwards. And his eyes met the camera, cold, sharp, not human anymore, not fully. The soldiers froze. The shooter dropped his weapon. Another stepped back, whispering to himself, "This is not possible. This is not real. This is something else." Dr. Zari ran the regeneration feed again and again. The computer could not calculate the speed. Her hands shook as she printed the results to a data crystal, but even numbers failed her. The human body was breaking the laws of natural biology. Every damage, every attack made them faster, stronger, smarter. Telek stepped forward, his voice low and rough. "Show me the ancient records, all of them, from Earth history." Now the room changed and began playing human war footage from the early ages, from battles in mud and fire to nuclear wars and space missions. They watched humans fall and rise, fall and rise. Again, blood, screams, explosions, and after every horror, humans stood up again. Telek leaned closer, his hands clenched. They evolve through pain, he whispered. They grow by losing. They survive by breaking and rebuilding. Dr. Zari spoke softly. Their species is not built for comfort, it is built for endurance. I think even sadness makes them stronger. Outside the lab, one of the soldiers ran down the corridor, his face pale. He had seen a human walk through fire, bare skin, burning smoke in the air, and still the human walked slowly, steadily, not screaming, just breathing heavy, like the pain meant nothing. He reached the central AI room and shouted into the console, "They are not fragile. They are not weak. We were wrong. All of us were wrong." The AI responded calmly. Human adaptation level exceeds Varnet biology by 70%. Suggest non-lethal containment. Suggest retreat. But Telek would not retreat. Not yet. He gave a command. Lock down the ship. Trap the humans inside. Use the gas. Use the frost chambers. Use everything. Varnak soldiers obeyed. They released toxin gas into the human cages, pumped liquid frost to freeze their nerves, aimed radiation beams to stop brain signals, and they waited. But the humans did not fall. They coughed, yes. They shook, yes, but then something else happened. Their bodies responded. Adjusted, resisted the gas, broke the frost, blocked the radiation, like the body was reading the attack and fixing itself before the damage even finished. One of the humans, a woman with short hair and a missing arm, grew it back, finger by finger, vein by vein, muscle by muscle. The ship sensors screamed error, unable to record, unable to classify, unknown response. Telek stared hard, his voice dry like ash. "I called them fragile," he said, "but they are not made of flesh. They are made of something else. Something terrible, something unbreakable." One of the alien scientists leaned closer and whispered, "The most dangerous enemy is not the one that strikes back. It is the one that refuses to die in the cage." Ethan smiled again, the same smile Telek remembered from part 1. Not angry, not cruel, just calm, patient. The smile of a man who knows the end will come, but not for him, because now the question was not how to kill the humans. The question was, how do you stop a species that was never built to die? Not built to die. The Varnak ship floated near the cold edge of the galaxy, where stars were fewer and silence felt deeper. But inside that silence, something unnatural had begun. Something that broke every law the Varnak believed in. The humans were not breaking down. They were breaking out. One of the soldiers, named Vek, had been trained on 20 warfronts. He had seen creatures with acid blood, shadow beasts from the dust moons, and machines that fed on stars. But today, he stood frozen in a hallway, staring at a human crawling through fire and refusing to die. The hallway was filled with flames, a plasma leak from a failed lockdown system. The temperature rose high enough to melt steel, and yet the human kept moving, crawling, skin burning black, and red hands melting and rebuilding, eyes locked forward, with no sign of stopping, no scream, no fear, just one breath after another. Vek stepped back, whispering, "They are not built like us. They are not even built like life itself." In the control room, Dr. Zari watched from the heat monitors, her voice low, her heart racing. The man should be dead, she said, but his body refuses to stop. It is like the cells are ignoring death. It is not just survival, it is defiance. Commander Telek stood behind. Her arms crossed, eyes locked on the screen. Do you understand what this means? He asked, not waiting for her answer. It means we cannot scare them, we cannot control them. The only power we had was fear, and they do not feel it. The AI interrupted with another scan. Humans now showing resistance to toxin Alpha 24 and cryo-seal beta systems. Unable to restrain organic subjects, Telek clenched his jaw. Then give them something new, he said. Burn them, freeze them, cut them again, and again. Break their bones, rip their skin, show them we are gods, and they are not. But the order failed again. Every weapon they used, every method, every trick, the humans absorbed it, survived it, and soon reversed it. Gas chambers failed to choke them. Instead, their lungs adjusted, breathing through chemicals like air-cold rooms, stopped working. Their bodies heated up on their own, like tiny suns burning under skin. One soldier tried stabbing a human directly. The blade sliced through the side, but within seconds, the wound sealed faster than before, as if the body remembered every attack and fixed it faster each time. Dr. Zari looked at the data and whispered something that made Telek go still. They are learning from pain, not just adapting, not just healing. They are evolving in real time. Telek stepped away from the screen, his mind racing, his plans falling apart in silence. He had called Earth a weak world. Now it looked like a training ground for survival. In the captured section of the ship, Ethan stood beside the others, their wounds gone, their bodies steady, their eyes calm. One of the women, who had been unconscious for hours, now opened her eyes, stood without help, and asked a single question. Where are we? Ethan answered without fear, we are inside. The mistake they made, the mistake of thinking we were fragile. The ship shook from the inside. Systems shorted, lights blinked as if the machine itself was confused, unable to understand the signals coming from the human bodies. The sensors showed heartbeats that slowed when calm and raced during pain, but never stopped even under full. Attacking the center of the ship, the Varnak Priest Council watched the footage in silence. One old leader said something soft and terrifying. The humans bleed, but they do not die. They burn, but they do not turn to ash. They are not gods, but they walk through hell like they belong to it. Back in the lab, Telek stared at Ethan once more. The camera zoomed in, the image sharp, clear. Ethan looked directly at him again. No hate, no fear, just the look of someone who had already seen the end and walked back from it. Black turned away, his voice empty. This was not war. This was something older, something the stars feared, something the Varnak never planned for. Did not say it out loud, but deep inside he knew the truth. Now the humans were not built to win. They were built to never lose. And more terrifying than that, they were not built to live forever. They were built to die and come back stronger. Fear spreads through the Empire. The message from the Varnak flagship traveled faster than light, crossing systems and stars in seconds. But it carried no pride, no victory, no celebration. It carried only fear, raw and sharp, and spreading fast through the Varnak Empire. Across dozens of colonies, Varnak generals gathered around glowing war tables, watching recordings from the human ship. Watching the impossible happen again and again, humans burning and rising, falling and healing, breaking and becoming stronger. They watched a man walk out of a radiation storm with skin-torn eyes, closed then open, calm and alive. They watched a woman laugh after being frozen for 2 hours, her breath fogging the air, her arms rising like nothing ever happened. A high commander slammed his fist against the table, shouting, "They are not a species. They are a warning. We should have never gone to that planet." On a mining moon, the workers stopped drilling to replay the footage one more time. A man with one leg, growing a new one. Step by step, bone, muscle, skin, as if death was just a delay, as if pain was just a lesson. Back in the capital world of Varnaka Prime, the Emperor sat in silence, his hands tight, his face pale. His advisors argued. Some said, "Destroy Earth now before it was too late." Others said, "Isolate it, wall it off, hide from it, like a disease the Empire could not cure." But The Emperor had already made his choice. He sent a direct order to Commander Telek: burn the planet, and the species, erase the threat before it spreads on the ship. Telek read the order slowly, his eyes cold, his thoughts louder than ever. He looked at the humans still inside the ship, not chained, not crying, just waiting like predators who had already tasted the blood of gods and found it disappointing. He activated the command panel, his voice flat: prepare plasma cores for orbital strike, full force, erase Earth and everything on it, no survivors. But the AI did not respond, not with activation, not with confirmation, only a calm reply. You are too late, Commander. They are already awake, and Earth is no longer alone outside the ship. The stars shifted slowly, and then sharply dozens of ships appeared, black silver, glowing with energy. They had no flags, no symbols, just a single transmission playing across every frequency. This is Earth. We are not weak. We are not broken. We are not fragile. You studied us. You captured us. You laughed at us. Now we visit. Telek stared at the screen, his heart frozen, his hands shaking. How do they have ships? Who gave them this? Dr. Zari answered with fear in her voice. You did. We all did. Every time we attacked them, every time we hurt them, every time we gave them pain, we also gave them knowledge. We gave them reasons. We gave them purpose. The Varnak soldiers ran to their stations, voices panicked, alarms, screaming. The human ships were not just ships, they were regenerating like the humans, alive, growing, healing, glowing with power from Earth's moon. One massive warship rose larger than the rest. Its surface smooth, its core pulsing red, alive. It had no name, it needed none. It was built from the wreckage of every Varnak mistake, and now it moved with purpose inside the ship. Ethan stood near a window, watching his home world in the distance, small, blue, full of stories, full of scars. Beside him, the others stood in silence, their faces calm, their bodies ready. None of them spoke, but each of them felt the same thing. Not rage, not revenge, something deeper, something older, a memory of what it felt like to be called fragile, and a promise to never be called that again. The Regeneration War. The war began without warning, no countdown, no speech, no rules. The sky above the Varnak ship turned red, not from the sun, not from the stars, but from the glow of human warships moving like living creatures, their hulls shifting, their engines humming. Not with fire, but with something deeper, something alive. Commander Telek shouted orders, weapons to full power. All ships engage target. Earth fleet fire now. The Varnak fleet responded in seconds. Plasma cannons roared through, space missiles launched. Lasers sliced through the dark, but what they hit was not what they expected. The human ships did not explode. They bent, twisted, healed. Even before the second blast could land, they were whole again, as if space itself helped them breathe. One Varnak cruiser locked onto a human vessel and fired directly at its core. The explosion should have ended it. But when the smoke cleared, the ship was still there, its surface cracked but already sealing, its lights growing brighter, its shape shifting like it was evolving mid-battle. Inside the ship, Ethan watched quietly, his hands on the command table, his voice calm. We gave them a chance, they chose fire, now we show them what survival looks like. Human fleet moved without panic, without fear. Every pilot sensed with their ships, the machines responding like nerves, like muscle, like thought. Some of them had been injured before, captured, broken, and now they fought with bodies that remembered every injury and turned it into power on the battlefield. A Varnak destroyer hit a small Earth vessel, directly splitting it into two. The alien crew cheered, but seconds later both halves of the human ship began to reconnect, glowing with energy, then fusing back together and firing back with 10 times the force. The Varnak commander inside screamed, it is not a ship, it is a ghost in space. Fear spreads faster than light, and now every Varnak captain felt it deep in their bones. These were not machines, these were not humans in suits, these were something new, something born from pain, shaped by fire, and designed to never stop. Back on the main human ship, Ethan gave another order, target the central fleet, disable only, do not destroy. We are not like them. We do not erase what we can outgrow. Lack watched from his bridge, his fleet breaking apart, his pride falling faster than his ships. He slammed his fists on the console, screaming, "This is not how war is supposed to work." Dr. Zari stood near the back, her voice low. "Maybe. This is not war, maybe this is evolution." The Varnak fired one final weapon, a gravity implosion device. Powerful enough to crush a moon, it hit the side of the human mothership and pulled it inward. Light, twisted metal bent, it vanished into itself. Then, it came back out whole. Brighter, faster, its shape now changed, sharper, smoother, more deadly, like the attack had only taught it what not to do again. Telek stepped back, eyes wide. "This is not war. This is horror inside the human ship." Ethan turned to the screen, showing the enemy bridge. He looked at Telek through the transmission, not angry, not cruel, just final. "You called us fragile, you laughed at our pain, you fed it, and now it feeds you." Estelak opened his mouth, but the words never came, only silence and regret, because in that moment, every Varnak in the galaxy realized what they had done. They did not just start a war, they helped humanity finish becoming something they could never fight again. The species that never dies. The war was over, but no one heard the victory song. No celebration echoed across space, only silence, wide and deep and heavy, the kind of silence that comes when fear gives way to respect, and respect gives way to something stronger, something unspoken. The Varnak fleet had fallen not in fire, not in glory, but in understanding. They had thrown their best, their strongest, their final weapons, and watched them fail again and again, not because their enemy was faster or richer or smarter, but because their enemy simply refused to stop breathing, refused to stay down, refused to die. The human ships now circled the center of the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as invaders, but as survivors, each one glowing with quiet strength, each one alive in ways the galaxy had never seen before. They did not destroy what remained of the Varnak, they did not punish, they simply stood still and let the stars speak for them. On Earth, the world watched the stars not with fear, but with peace. For the first time in history, humans knew they were not alone, not the weakest, not the smallest, not a mistake in the dark. They were the fire that refused to go out inside the main human vessel. Ethan sat beside a wide window, staring out into the stars, his body still marked from the war, his skin strong. His eyes steady. Beside him stood the woman who had grown back her arm, her voice quiet. "They feared us, and we became what they feared." Ethan nodded. "They tried to break us, but they only taught us to build. They tried to erase us, but they wrote our name in their sky." Across the Varnak Empire, schools rewrote their history. Children now learned about Earth not as prey, but as legend. Temples were built not in worship, but in warning. They did not speak of the war as defeat, they called it the moment. The galaxy changed. In one distant colony, a small alien boy fell from a cliff and broke his arm, screaming in pain. But when his parents came running, they saw something impossible. The bone was already healing, not fast, not fully, but enough to bring silence to their lips and a single thought to their minds. The humans had not just survived, they had shared something, something deep in the stars, something old, something strong. Dr. Zari returned to her world carrying data, not of weapons, but of cells that taught her people how to endure, how to rebuild, how to begin again. The Emperor of the Varnak stepped down, not in shame, but in silence. His last message to his people was a single sentence: "We forgot that true power is not to kill. It is to keep walking through every death." Back on the human ship, Ethan recorded one final message. It was sent to all systems open. Broadcast, no code, no barrier, just words. "We are not gods, we are not demons, we are not perfect, we are just the ones who kept going. We do not rule, we do not forget, but we do remember how you laughed, and we do remember how we rose. If you want peace, we offer it. If you want war, we will survive it. If you want to learn, we will teach you how to get back up." The message ended not with music, not with thunder, but with the quiet sound of breath, steady, calm, unstoppable. The galaxy had seen many species, strong, fast, smart, powerful, but only once had it seen one that was truly built for forever, and long after the ships stopped flying, long after the stars shifted again, long after names were lost to time, one truth remained across every world, every moon, every whisper of space. The humans were not the strongest, they were not the smartest, they were the ones who refused to die, and that made them something no empire could ever defeat, because legends may fade and kings may fall, but the species that never dies will always rise again. The end.